All right. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
All praises be unto the Most High Almighty Ahaya. This is the Esteemed Community Church of Christ. My name is Brother Shamar.
And Brother Arak.
All right. And we'll be giving you today's Shabbat report / lesson. All right. So let's see everybody, those who are here and those who are online with us here in the spirit. So the lesson today we're going to go into is the modern day modern day Pharisees. All right. We're going to go into the modern day Pharisees, and we're going to take a look at some secular history and some instructions that Christ gives us concerning them. And then we're going to try to pinpoint, who these Pharisee-like people would be like today. All right. And ensure that we're surpassing, and doing the things that Christ told us to do. So before we begin, we're going to go to Isaiah 53:1.
All right, this is out of the book of the prophet Isaiah, chapter 53, verse 1. Who had believed our report, and to whom is the arm of the Most High revealed?
All right, so it says, who have believed our report, and to whom is the arm of the Most High revealed? All right, we know that how the Most High operates in secrecy. He chooses a chosen person who reaches a certain holy state, and he sends the word of the Most High onto them, which is Christ. This person now reveals onto the chosen prophet what the Most High says, and then this prophet will go out and declare, "Thus saith the Most High." And people understanding how the Most High moved in such secrecy was able to go home and say that the word of the Lord came to them privately, and they gave false prophecies. And it's up to the people to ensure that their ears and their hearts are uncircumcised and they're learning, and they have precept upon precept to be able to distinguish the two. All right. So with that being said, we're not going face to face with the Most High, getting the report, but we're going into the reports of our forefathers and ensure that they're translated, interpreted, and taught correctly. All right. So with that being said, we're going to go right into the lesson. All right. And we're going to go to Matthew 5:17.
All right, this is out of the book of St. Matthew, chapter 5, starting at the 17th verse. Think not that I have come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, not one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled. Whosoever therefore shall break one of the least commandments, and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I say unto you, that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven.
All right. So here we have Christ letting us know that the law is not done away with. All right. It's being fulfilled. And we know what that fulfillment is. He's fulfilling, the shadow law that was given to Yasharallah, where he became the lamb for them and all of that. And he's also giving us the spiritual interpretation of that law. All right. And he gives us a command that, except our righteousness surpass the righteousness of the Pharisees, we can't enter into the kingdom of the Most High. And this is an important thing, because this is on the same term of baptism, where he says, unless someone gets baptism, they can't go into the kingdom of the Most High. Here he's saying, unless our righteousness passes the Pharisees, this sect of the Jews, then we can't enter into the kingdom. So it's important that we analyze the Pharisees and know who they are and what type of righteousness that they're showing, so in order that we surpass them. All right, we're going to go to the definition of exceed.
All right, this is the definition for exceed. This is Strong's, the Strong's Greek word G4052, G4052. Perissio, from G4053, to superabound in quantity or quality, be in excess, be superfluous. Also transitively, to cause, to superabound or excel, make more, abound, have more, abundance, be more abundant, be better, enough, and to spare, exceed, excel, increase, be left, redound, remain, over and above. So,
yeah, and the next one as well.
There's G4119, G4119. Comparative of G4183, more in quantity, number, or quality, also in plural. The major portion, X, above, exceed, more excellent, further, very, great, greater, long, longer, very, many, greater, more, part, yet, but.
All right, so more in quantity, all right, more excellent, okay, exceed, all right, so a more excellent, further, greater righteousness than these Pharisees, all right, and Christ is giving us a hard task right here. He's telling us that we got to be more righteous than these people, and he's telling us this for a reason. All right, all of that's going to be revealed today. We're going to go to Matthew 16:1. All right. Christ is going to give us a next warning concerning the Pharisees.
This is out of the book of St. Matthew, chapter 16, starting at the first verse. The Pharisees also with the Sadducees came, and tempting desired him that he would show them a sign from heaven. He answered and said unto them, when it is evening, ye say, it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning, it will be foul weather today, for the sky is red and lowering. O ye hypocrites, ye can discern the face of the sky, but yet ye not discern the signs of the times? A wicked and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall no sign be given unto it, but the sign of the prophet Jonas. And he left them and departed. And when his disciples were come to the other side, he had forgotten to take bread. And Yeshua said unto them, take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees. And they reasoned among themselves, saying, it is because we have taken no bread. Which when Yeshua perceived, he said unto them, O ye of little faith, why reason ye among yourselves because ye have brought no bread? Do ye not understand, neither remember the 5 loaves of the 5,000 and how many baskets ye took up? Neither the 7 loaves of the 4,000 and how many baskets ye took up? How is it that ye do not understand that I speak it not to you concerning bread, that ye should beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees? Then understood they how that he bade them not beware of the leaven of bread, but of the doctrine of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees.
All right, so here the Pharisees and the Sadducees, all right, were there, and they're tempting Christ, asking them questions. So that's one thing you're going to know, that these Pharisee people, when we're going to see them, they're going to start tempting us and asking us questions, asking to prove us of our doctrine. All right, and see how Christ is dealing with them. All right, Christ then goes to the disciples and lets them know to beware of the leaven of the Pharisees. And this leaven, he reveals, is the doctrine of the Pharisees. So the Pharisees have a doctrine, all right? And this doctrine is a catchy doctrine, all right? And Christ is telling even the disciples to beware of it, all right? That they not be taken by it. So we're going to go to another precept. We're going to go to Luke 12:1.
This is out of the book of St. Luke, chapter 12, verse 1. In the meantime, when they were gathered together in an innumerable multitude of people, insomuch that they trod upon one another, he began to say unto his disciples, first of all, beware ye of the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy. For there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, neither hid that shall not be known. Therefore, whatsoever ye have spoken in darkness shall be heard in the light, and that which ye have spoken in the ear in closets shall be proclaimed unto the housetops.
All right. So he tells us, all right, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees. And then we get a little more description here, all right, which is hypocrisy. So we're going to go into the definition of hypocrisy. All right, because the Pharisees are dealing with a lot of hypocrisy. You know, we hear that word a lot of the times, but we're going to go and examine this word.
All right, this is the definition for hypocrisy. This is out of the Strong's. It's Greek word G5272, G5272. Hypocrisis from G5271, acting under a feigned part, that is figuratively deceit, hypocrisy, condemnation, dissimulation, hypocrisy.
All right, so deceit, all right, which is hypocrisy, condemnation. All right, so they're operating in deceit, and they're operating with deceit. All right, and that's what hypocrisy is. All right, and this is how the Pharisees was operating. And we're going to see that they're operating the same way today, the people who have the spirit of the Pharisees. All right, and we're going to go to the works of Flavius Josephus. And Josephus is going to go and he's going to break down to us the demeanor of both the Pharisees and the Sadducees. And we're going to learn a little of their demeanor and how they operate with one another. All right, so give us that, brother.
All right. This is out of the works of Flavius Josephus, War of the Jews, Book 2, Chapter 8, starting at the 14th verse. But then as to the two orders, as first mentioned, the Pharisees are those who are esteemed most skillful in the exact explication of their laws and introduce the first sect.
All right. So the Pharisees, all right, are esteemed most skillful in the exact explication of their laws. So they're the most skillful when breaking down these laws. All right. And this is a thing that the Pharisees are stood out to. And you're going to see that they break it down different from the other groups. All right. The other groups kind of are all over the place. And these Pharisees, even though not correct, they're giving it the most exact to where people are feeling comfortable with their interpretation of the things that are doing. All right. People would swear that these interpretations are correct. They're exact interpretations because the way when people are looking at the other people who are operating, this was the more exact interpretation that they were getting. You're going to see why. All right. But continue for us.
These ascribe all to fate or providence and to God, and yet allow that to act which is right, or the contrary, principally in the power of men, although fate does cooperate in every action. They say that all souls are incorruptible, but that the souls of good men only are removed into other bodies, but the souls of bad men are subject to eternal punishment. But the Sadducees are those that compose the second order, and they take away fate entirely and suppose that God is not concerned in our doing or not doing what is evil. And they say that to act what is good or what is evil is at men's own choice.
All right. So they're not really dealing, with certain things. All right. And that's one of the things they're not dealing with. They're not concerned with what is evil. All right. So how they operate, they're not looking at their mannerisms or whatever. They're thinking that the Most High doesn't really care how they operate. And we have some people today who, when you see them operate, you swear that they don't think the Most High cares about, if you behave yourself in such mannerisms, and that's what they proclaim. All right, that these mannerisms is righteous. And then they even try to say that Christ operated in such mannerisms at times. All right, but continue for us.
And they say that to act what is good or what is evil is at men's own choice, and that the one or the other belongs to every one, that they may act as they please. They also take away the belief of the immortal duration of the soul and the punishment and reward in Hades.
All right, so they don't believe in hell. The punishments and rewards, going to hell, going into the paradise, or going into the torments. The Sadducees weren't believers in hell. All right, we do have Hebrew groups today that teach that there is no hell. All right, they don't believe in the hell. They don't believe in any punishments, especially those who only deal with Torah Tanakh, as Torah Tanakh doesn't have those explanations inside of there.
Stop right there.
All right, so especially the Torah Tanakh readers, they don't see hell and punishments inside the Torah Tanakh, so they don't believe in that as well. All right, continue first.
Moreover, the Pharisees are friendly to one another, and are for the exercise of concord and regard for the public.
All right. So, moreover, the Pharisees are friendly one to another and for the exercise of concord. Can you get us the definition of that? This is not there. Concord. All right, so the Pharisees are friendly one to another. When people are watching the Pharisees operate very friendly, very loving, one toward another. And these are demeanors that we just have to pay attention to real quick. Okay. All right, even in, the Hebrew groups that are out today, we know that some Hebrew groups, talk to each other a certain way, and others, talk to each other with a great deal of respect.
All right, this is the definition for concord. This is out of the Merriam-Webster dictionary. Concord is a noun, a state in which people or things agree with each other and exist together in a peaceful way.
All right, a state where things agree and operate with each other in a peaceful way. All right, so one is operating, okay, they might be operating together, but there's a lot of, certain energy there, all right, negative energy, while these people are operating together in this respectable way, all right, as one accord. And we have that, we have the Hebrew groups that have settled into their respective, categories and groups, and, they're now just gathering more people onto themselves. And we see that some operate in, a certain degree, a carnal, wild manner, and others operate with this, this oneness, where that's what they proclaim. All right, they operate in this oneness and this loveness, and that's what they show forth, and that's what they're known for. All right, continue for us.
All right. Moreover, the Pharisees are friendly to one another and are for the exercise of concord and regard for the public, but the behavior of the Sadducees one towards another in some degree wild, and their conversation with those that are of their own party is as barbarous as if they were strangers to them. And this is what I had to say concerning the philosophical sects among the Jews.
All right. So it says the behavior of the Sadducees one toward another was barbaric. All right. In some degree, wild. All right. So the Sadducees acted wild and barbaric, while the Pharisees were known for their love and working together in oneness and trying to create a family environment. They're also known for giving the most accurate interpretations, all right, and behaving in a manner that's mature, unlike the Sadducees, all right. And this is what we have in the Hebrew camps today. We have, particular camps that operate wild and barbaric in speech one toward another on the street corners, and they say outlandish stuff to people. They say outlandish stuff to their own brothers. They're talking, hey, yeah, brother, we out here, praising the Most High, double honors to this and that, to the elders. And this is the stuff that they're operating with each other. Like, it's a gang. And this is the barbaric, wild manner that the Sadducees operated. And we're going to see that these camps today, they're separating themselves into these respective camps spiritually. All right. The Sadducee mind state and the Pharisee mind state. And, just for, today, because this is how we are able to observe it, their names is written down here. And, the names that they were going by is written down so that we can know and differentiate and be aware of that. So it's only right that, we, in case people are watching this, do the same thing so that the same torch can be passed down. All right. So these respective groups today that operate like the Pharisees and Sadducees. The Sadducees will remind you of camps like GMS per se. All right. And the other offshoot camps that come from ISUPK. All right. And the One West camps. All right. They would operate much like the Pharisees, like the Sadducees, wild and barbaric in mannerisms. And you're going to see that the beliefs of these two are going to start to match up with each other as well. All right. And we're going to get more clear on that. And the Pharisees of today is going to remind you of GOCC. All right. And the spirit that's upon that camp. And we're going to see that this is who we actually have to watch and ensure that our righteousness surpasses them. That's how comes we operate in such, a secretive manner until, we get this Essene thing fully up. All right. Because we have to surpass these people's righteousness, the Pharisees, as the Most High tells us. The spirit of the Pharisees, we got to surpass. All right, so we're taking a full examination of it. We're gonna go to Acts 23:6, and we're gonna look at some of the Pharisees' beliefs. All right, so we're gonna look at some of the beliefs of the Pharisees and the Sadducees, how we could differentiate the two different spirits that are on these camps, what they believe in. All right, and we're gonna compare it to those of today as well, so you can see that it's the same thing. There's nothing new under the sun. All right, so we're at Acts 23:6.
All right, this is the book of Acts, chapter 23, starting at the 6th verse. But when Paul perceived that one part were Sadducees and the other Pharisees, he cried out in the council, "Men and brethren, I am a Pharisee, the son of a Pharisee. Of the hope and resurrection of the dead, I am called in question." And when he had so said, there arose a dissension between the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and the multitude was divided. For the Sadducees say that there is no resurrection, neither angel nor spirit, but the Pharisees confess both.
All right, so this is the difference between the Pharisees and the Sadducees in doctrine a little. All right, so the Pharisees believe in both the resurrection and angels. All right, so if they believe in angels, they know about the records that contain with the angels, dealing with the angels, and they believe in the resurrection, Christ to come, and all of that. The Sadducees don't believe in either of those. All right, so the Sadducees don't believe in angels, and we have camps there today, like the ISUPK and ones that come out of the One West. They don't believe in what we call in hell or any of that, or resurrection. All right, because they believe that this is our hell. This is the hell that we are in, and we're in our hell right now, and the white man's going to be in their hell when the Messiah comes.
The white man heaven, right?
Yeah, this is the white man's heaven. All right, so this is their belief. This belief is still here on the same spirit, people with the same spirit. All right, so one doesn't believe in either the angels or thing, and they don't believe in angels either. They don't believe in fallen angels or any of that. They don't read those records. They don't believe in that, and that's what they proclaim. While the other believes in both. So we can start to differentiate the two in their mannerisms and in their doctrine. Continue for us.
Verse 9. And there arose a great cry, and the scribes that were of the Pharisees part arose and strove, saying, "We find no evil in this man. But if a spirit or an angel had spoken to him, let us not fight against the Most High."
All right. So the Pharisees, who confess both of them would be like GOCC, and we know that they broke off from these dispirited people. All right, so you're going to see that this all is prophesied in the scriptures to happen. All right, so they broke off from the Sadducee mindset that was going into those doctrines that didn't believe in the angels, that didn't believe in hell, and they started to deal with hell, and they started to deal with the angels. All right, and give exact interpretations of the scriptures. So they started to separate themselves from the Sadducee mind state, and they started to give more exact interpretations of the law. And this is what the people was gravitating to them for, because when they seen the two differences, they noticed that the Pharisees, all right, who would be under the, the GOCC would have the spirit of, they were breaking down the scriptures more accurate and made more sense than the other ones, all right, who would go operating under the Sadducee-like spirit, because they were operating wild and barbaric, and some of their doctrines was lewd and outlandish. All right, while the Pharisees, they were given more exact interpretations. All right, they were given interpretations that, even though they were literal, not spiritual, they were, good interpretations literally. All right. But they didn't have the spiritual understanding of them, but they're given the literal interpretations with somebody who's fully, in the conscious mind and not understanding the spiritual comparisons would think that this is good. This is exact interpretations, as we all once did at a point in time. All right. So we're going to go to the book of Josephus, and we're going to see the type of respect that's given onto the Pharisees. All right. So the Pharisees get a certain type of respect from the people because of how they operate in love and how they operate together, and because they have more better exact interpretations of the scriptures.
Stop right there. Take this here. Let's go underneath with it. Pause that video. We're going to start it over here. You have to go underneath the table. Because I have the extension. Yeah, it's sticking here. It's all right. I'm going to remove it. Look, this first. Yeah. All right. There. Yeah, you have assignment. Yo, look, this is the button here to start and stop. Right? I'm gonna start. There's a time. You have a timer on your phone. Yeah. Yo, put the timer for like maybe like 27 minutes. Because every 30 minutes it cycles off. I guess the regulations that they have over in North America. That's why they made these cameras like that. You can't continue to, or else if they had it continuously, they would have to charge like thousands of dollars, which is stupid. Yeah, just put like 27 minutes for a timer to count down. I don't know how to do this. Okay, you know what? I can. Yeah. All right. Okay, just press. Let me stop making stupid files. Okay, I'm gonna download the buttons right here. So it started already? Yeah, no. I'll press it right now. When it started, the red light will be on. Okay. So. Let me know. Shamar, you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. This is out of the book of Josephus, book 13, containing the interval of 82 years from the death of Judas Maccabeus to the death of Queen Alexandra. Chapter 10. How upon the quarrel between Antiochus Grippius and Antiochus Cyzinius about the kingdom, Hyrcanus took Samaria and utterly demolished it, and how Hyrcanus joined himself to the sect of the Sadducees and left that of the Pharisees. However, the prosperous state of affairs moved the Jews to envy Hyrcanus, but they that were the worst disposed him were the Pharisees, who were one of the sect of the Jews. And as we informed you already, these have so great a power over the multitude that when they say anything against the king or anything against the high priest, they were presently believed.
All right. So these have so great a power over the multitude. So the Pharisees, because they, gave exact, literal interpretations of the law, which is not good enough. All right. Because we have to be spiritual. All right. And because they operated in a certain love toward one another and on one accord, and they had the doctrine of the hell and they had the resurrection, the people gravitated to them. All right. They had pull over the people. They had a lot of pull over the multitude that whatever they said was believed. All right. And until they say it or stamp it, the people wouldn't believe it. And this is what was happening in those times. This is what's starting to happen even now. All right. Continue to verse 6 for us.
Verse 6. What I would now explain is this, that the Pharisees have delivered to the people a great many observants by succession from their fathers, which are not written in the laws of Moses. And for that reason, it is that the Sadducees reject them and say that we are to esteem those observances to be obligatory, which are written word, but are not to observe what are derived from the tradition of our forefathers.
All right. And at these times, and you're going to see why we call it modern day Pharisees. So at this time right here, the Pharisees, certain traditions from our forefathers crept in the law. And they were also dealing with, the fallen angels, and, they're dealing with other, biblical records that the Sadducees was looking at the whole thing like, oh, there's things that you guys are adding to, the scriptures that's not written in the law of Moses. And that's what's even happening today. All right. That, they're looking at them. They're like, yo, a lot of things that you're adding, a lot of things that you're doing is not written in Torah Tanakh. And it's the same thing. All right. At this time, it was certain false things I was adding in. And you're going to see that the modern day Pharisees, they're going to be even more intellectually smart. And their doctrine is going to be more smart. So at this time, this is how far their doctrine was going. They still had things crept in, and they were dealing with false things. And the Sadducees was, spitting and going against them. And they didn't deal with them because they dealt with hell and angels, other records, and they believed that, you know, they had a bunch of things that wasn't in the law. And that same thing is going on today. All right, but continue for us.
And concerning these things, it is that great disputes and differences have arisen among them, while the Sadducees are able to persuade none but the rich, and have none the populace obsequious to them, but the Pharisees have the multitude on their side.
All right, so certain these great disputes and differences have risen among them. All right, so based on the doctrine, hell, angels, great disputes risen among them. And this is what we still have today in the Hebrew community. That's what it's all started up. Oh, hell, angels, proving these books, that books. This is the war of the Pharisees, Sadducees of the modern day. All right, the people that's operating under these spirits. All right, the Sadducee ones, still wild and barbaric, not believing in those records, not believing in angels, not believing in hell, believing this is our hell, this is, you know, the white man's heaven. And the Pharisees, you know, believing in angels, believing in hell, having more exact interpretations of the law. All right, and these would be comparison to the Sadducees into ISUPK, you know, all the camps that came out of One West, IUIC, and GMS. Those type of camps we operating under Sadducee-like spirit. All right, it's the same thing, arguing the same doctrine, arguing under the same mannerism. All right, while the Pharisees, even though they're more modern and more intellectual today, they're operating the same way as well. All right, who would be your GOCC? And you're going to see that it could only be GOCC. All right, and we're going to make the two, we're going to bring it all the way through and make the comparisons. All right, well, continue for us.
But about these two sects and that of the essence, I have treated accurately in the second book of Jew Affairs.
All right, so the Sadducees were only able to persuade none but the rich, all right, at those times. And they didn't have anything over the populace, all right. We're going to go to some secular history on the Pharisees.
All right, Pharisees, NEHS. A Jew group mentioned either collectively or as individuals 98 times in the New Testament, all but 10 times in the Gospel. The root meaning of the word Pharisee is uncertain. It is probably related to the Hebrew root PRS, meaning separate or detached.
All right, so the Pharisee word, they say it goes back to separate or detach. And I'm going to give the next document after. I forgot to put it in, but it's going to show you that the word actually does mean to separate or detach. And you're going to see why that means. All right. So these Pharisees separated from the bulk of the Sadducees. All right. And they separated from these people. They start to do different things. All right. Continue for us.
From whom did the Pharisees separate? From those, especially the priests or clerics, who interpreted the law differently than they? From the common people of the land, John 7:49? From the Gentiles or Jews who embraced the Hellenistic culture? From certain political groups? All these groups of people, the Pharisees would have been determined to avoid in the resolution to separate themselves from any type of impurity prescribed by the Levitical law. More specifically, their strict interpretation of it. Josephus's reference to the Pharisees are selective, probably because he was adapting them to a cultured Gentile audience. His information comes in two forms: direct descriptions and the role the Pharisees play in the history that he depicts. Josephus says the Pharisees maintained a simple lifestyle, were affectionate and harmonious in their dealings with others, especially respectful to their elders.
All right, so the Pharisees, all right, were respectful to their elders, and they had a demeanor of love to them. And this is what the people loved when they seen them, when they are looking at the rest of Yasharah. All right. So they were known to have this type of behavior with them. All right. Even though Christ was rebuking them and doing all of these things, these people that loved that thing that they had a great hold on the people. And that's what they used. All right. When the other sects didn't use that. All right. And we see the same thing happening today. Those proclaiming that same love as Christ, that same, while the others are operating in a barbaric way, clearly not showing that same love. All right, continue for us.
And quite influential throughout the land of Yasha'Allah. Although at the time of Herod, they numbered only about 6,000. Josephus mentioned their belief in both faith, divine sovereignty, and the human will, and in immortality of both good and evil persons. Some Pharisees refused to take oaths. Of particular importance are Josephus' statements that the Pharisees adhered to the laws of which the deity approves, and that they are considered the most accurate interpreters of the laws. Pharisees follow the guidance of that which their doctrine has selected and transmitted as good, attaining the chief importance to the observance of those commandments which it has seen fit to dictate to them. And they passed on to the people certain regulations handed down by former generations and not recorded in the law of Moses. Although the phrase oral law is not used, it appears Josephus understood that the Pharisees affirmed a body of traditional interpretations, applications, and expansions of the Old Testament law communicated orally.
All right. So you see the Pharisees there, all right, showing each other affection in a harmonious manner. All right. And being the most accurate interpreters of the law. And, even having some, understanding that's not there in the law of Moses, and some that crept in from tradition. All right. So we're now going to go and take a look at another warning that Christ gives us. All right. We're going to go to Matthew 7 and 15. Actually, Salakia.
You want to get the next article?
Yeah, the next article.
Yeah,
I want to post it in the chat. So I forgot to put the next excerpt, so I'm gonna place it in the chat there. All right.
Something there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The Pharisee, separatist party emerged largely out of the group of scribes and sages. Their name comes from the Hebrew and Aramaic parush or parushi or parushai, which means one who is separated. It may refer to their separation from Gentiles, sources of ritual impurity, or from irreligious Jews.
All right. So their separation was coming from certain ritual impurity and certain things that the Sadducees had. So the Sadducees were further into, deception than the Pharisees were. All right. And we see the same thing today. Continue for us.
The Pharisees, among other Jew sects, were active from the middle of the 2nd century BCE until the destruction of the temple in 70 CE. Josephus first mentions them in connection with Jonathan, the successor of Judas Maccabeus. One of the factors that distinguished the Pharisees from the other groups prior to destruction of the temple was their belief that all Jews had to observe the purity laws, which applied to the temple. The major difference, however, was the continued adherence of the Pharisee to the laws and traditions of the Jews people in the face of assimilation. As Josephus noted, the Pharisees were considered the most expert and accurate expositors of Jewish law.
All right. So at this time, they were dealing with certain assimilations in the law, and they were known as the most accurate expositors of the law as well. And we're gonna see that today they're switched up their thing. They're even more smarter. So at this time they were smart, but today you're gonna see that they switch up and they're more smarter. They're more intellectual. All right, and you're gonna see why. Well, continue for us.
Josephus indicates that the Pharisees received the backing and goodwill of the common people, apparently in contrast to the more elite Sadducees associated with the ruling classes. In general, whereas the Sadducees were aristocratic monarchists, The Pharisees were eclectic, popular, and more democratic.
All right, so they're popular, more democratic. They had a more loving, thing to them. They could reason with the people more. And this is what we see now. All right, now that the camps are settling into the respective modes, we have the ones that only attract harsh, barbaric spirits like themselves, and we have the camp that shows love, all of this, and is attracting families, attracting the people that are looking for a family environment, people that have more mature interpretations of the law, all of these things. All right, and this Pharisee-like camp today would be GOCC. All right, and we have the Sadducees who would be operating under those who come under the One West. They still have the same spirit. They still have some of the same doctrine. They still have the same mannerisms to themselves, not dealing with hell, fallen angels, and being wild and barbaric toward each other and not looking or concerning themselves with mannerism per se. All right, so we're going to go and take a look at Matthew 7 and 15. And Christ gives us another warning concerning them.
All right, this is out of the book of St. Matthew, chapter 7, starting at the 15th verse. Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves.
All right, so he tells us to beware of false prophets. All right, and he's speaking to the disciples at this time. So at this time, the disciples could differentiate who's different from their camp. All right. So they didn't need to be aware of, the prophets or this. Christ is telling them a future prophecy here. All right. That beware of the false prophets. All right. Because they're going to come to you in sheep's clothing, and inwardly they are raven and wolf. So they're going to come to you and they're going to put on your clothing now. So this is the difference between the Pharisees at those times and the Pharisees at these times. Those times they didn't put on the clothing of the disciples, the clothing meaning the doctrines and certain the mannerisms and the beliefs that the disciples had. All right. But in today's time, he's given the warning that they're going to take on your clothing, but inwardly, spiritually, they're not going to be you. All right. They're going to have a different mannerism to them spiritually that's going to be hidden. All right. And you're going to know how we can detect the difference. All right. But read that again, Matthew 7 and 15.
Beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Ye shall know them by their fruits.
All right. So you shall know them by their fruits. This is the only way we're going to be able to know them. You're not going to be able to know them by looking at them, even, by looking at their doctrine, unless, you know the spiritual interpretation to know that, they don't have the spirit. But it's going to be hard to decipher them unless you are able to differentiate what's a good and bad fruit. All right, because they're looking like you now. They're looking like the disciples. They're looking like Christ and them, but they're not. All right. So everybody knows the wolves in sheep clothing comparison, when the wolf dress up like the sheep and it goes in the thing and it's chilling with. So this is what Christ is letting us know. This is where they get it from. They give that to children in the TV show. They still show you that it's plain and simple what wolf in sheep clothing is. All right. The wolf takes on the apparel of the sheep and goes amongst them now and chills with them till the right time. And then it starts taking them all out. All right. This is what Satan is going to do through these people, through the spirit. And so continue for us.
Ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? Verse 17. Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore, by their fruits ye shall know them.
Right. So by their fruits you shall know them. All right. So what they start to put out and what the people that start to breed, and you're going to start to know them by these things and by their spirit and the things that they do. And if you have the spirit in the eyes, you're going to be able to monitor and see, oh, you know what? These people really are wolves. They're not sheep. And we're going to go to the humane gospel where Christ is going to tell us the same thing. But in the humane gospel, it gives us more clearer interpretation and more details.
All right, this is out of the humane gospel here. Ye shall warn of false prophets who will twist his word and make a lie of truth. And he went on saying to them, do ye beware of false prophets who indeed come unto you in sheep's clothing, pretending to be innocent and harmless as sheep, but inwardly are ravening wolves with appetites lusting after the blood and flesh of innocent creatures.
All right. So this in this one, it gives us a more direct of who these Pharisees are today. All right. So they're going to come to you in the sheep's clothing. They're going to be pretending to be innocent, harmless, you know, oh, yeah, and, you know, they're going to come to you in the sheep. What do the sheep wear? The sheep have the white coats. You know, they're going to come to you in the white as well. They're like, hey, man. Just imagine a cartoon, kids cartoon, and, you know, the wolf coming in the sheep clothing, and they're going to give you the dance, and they're going to give you, it's going to put on the show for you. Okay, this is what he's letting you know. All right, they're going to come and they're going to act innocent and harmless as sheep. But as we start to realize when we observe the true law, we're like, hold on, wait, you know what? These people are barbaric, all right? Because why does it say? They actually lust after the blood and flesh of innocent creatures. When the conversation now approaches the dinner plate and the sacrifice, this is where you see their true nature, all right? And even the love and that they show, it comes out because now they're like, oh, we can just kill anything. We can kill. As soon as you say you can kill anything, that's you revealing what's inside of you now. All right. And that love and peace is now gone because those two things, once you say you're going to kill something and you're representing peace, that's they're opposites of each other, polar opposites. Okay. So this is how you now know them by their fruit, because you're saying peace or whatever, but now you're saying, you know, we slaughter anything in the kingdom. We're going to be sacrificing animals, killing them. Oh, barbecue chicken. You know, we're going to be having unlimited, you know, deaths in you know, sacrifice in the kingdom. This is what they believe.
Why would there be death in the kingdom of life? It's just logic, you know.
All right, so this is what they do. Read but inwardly again from there.
Yes, but inwardly they are ravening wolves with appetites lusting after the blood and flesh of innocent creatures. Yea, their hands are dripping with blood, and they boast in their evil and say it is good and deceive many at the entrance of the gate.
All right, so they say, yeah, you know, their hands dripping with blood. Yeah, the sacrifice is good, chicken. Yeah, rabbit food. Who's going to eat the rabbit food and all of this? This is the mannerisms of them, all right, in this day that Christ was speaking about in end times, that the Pharisee spirit was going to come with, all right? So they're going to operate as Essenes, dress as Essenes, you know, even proclaim, hey, we have the sons of Zadok priesthood, all right? And then not do the things of the sons of Zadok priesthood. You know, these are the things that's happening where they separate themselves from the Sadducees. All right, so they boast. They boasted big in their evil ways, and they say it is good. And they're deceiving many at the entrance because these people are looking for that love and, you know, that real truth that the Essenes bring, but they're getting stopped at the gate by this spirit, by this sect. All right. And this sect, by their mannerisms, by them even taking on the Essene way and not doing the Essene way for these, stopping people at the gate. All right. And this, we all came from that gate to this way. A lot of us came from that gate to this way. So we start to see how the Pharisees now, that spirit is coming under this particular camp that called GOCC, and the other camps, you know, even though they're different and many, they all have that same Sadducee-like spirit and doctrine and mannerism. All right. It's very clear that the scripture gives us. So continue for us.
Ye shall know them by their works, for though they speak love, they give only hate, and by their fruits ye shall readily know their true root. For it is they who call truth a lie, and the lie truth.
All right. So this is giving us a lot of details. All right. You shall know them by their works. For though they speak love, they only give hate. All right. You can go try to correct them. Oh, brother, that's nonsense. You know, they reject everything, you know, and they call the truth a lie. When you're telling them the truth, it's a lie to them. But these people have the Essene, you say you're Essene, you even say something is a dot, but how you say this is a lie? This is what Christ is telling us that they were going to do.
Isaiah 5:21, to them that call good evil, evil good.
All right. You want to get it?
Okay, let me get it. My Bible open now. All right, this is out of the book of prophet Isaiah, chapter 5, verse 20. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter.
All right. So woe unto them. And this is what they're doing. They're calling the truth a lie and the lie a truth. All right. And it's particularly when it comes to the righteous prophets in them, because the other ones, they're twisting up, false interpretations or whatever. But these ones are downright going into Essene knowledge, Essene mannerism, Essene way, sons of Zadok way, and not doing it. All right. And telling you that it's a lie when you mention these things about the sect, and then telling you that they went off at some time. All right. Which is nowhere recorded anywhere. All right. But continue for us.
For do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? So shall it be that every good tree bringeth forth holy fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth only evil fruit. Wherefore by their fruits ye shall know the good from the evil. Beware lest ye be misled and find not the tree of life.
All right. So wherefore by their fruits you shall know them. All right. You shall know if they're good or they're evil. And beware lest they mislead you and you not find the tree of life. And we see that many are being misled. All right. Now that everybody in the Hebrew, the first wave of, everyone waking up is done and everyone's settling in, you see that they're gravitating, they're growing rapidly, even on a world tour right now. Okay. they're gathering the populace onto them, families onto them. And this is who the families are going to. All right. You do have another one of the sect of the Sadducees that are operating more, unity, and that's IUIC, but they still have that harshness to them. They still have the same doctrine, all right, not believing in angels, not believing in hell, and those same things, even though they're operating with more of a unity and family unit than the other ones, all right, but they still hold the same doctrine and stuff that attach them right to the Sadducees. All right, continue for us.
For many will say to me in that day, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name? And in thy name have done many wonderful works? But I will say unto them, I never knew you.
All right. And this is where now we're understanding what Christ was saying. Many shall prophesy in my name. All right. These other ones, Christians and these false people, they're not using the actual names. Okay. The people that was coming up to him saying, hey, what's going on is people that's actually using his name, that actually know his name is Yeshaya. That actually know Ahia. They're saying, yo, don't I know the name? They're not, what are you talking about? I know it's the name. They know it's the name. They know they have the exact interpretation of it. Okay, but they don't have the other things. And these people are going to be the ones who's coming up to Christ saying, yo, I prophesy in your name. I broke it down. What are you talking about? I gave them the name. And we see what Christ is going to say to them. All right. So read that part for us again.
For many will say to me in that day, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name? And in thy name have done many wonderful works? But I will say unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, false witnesses, ye that work only evil things.
All right. So he says, I never knew you. All right. You're false witnesses, because the Christ that you're proclaiming is not the true Christ. And that's not what the disciples witnessed. All right. You're giving false witness of me. You're saying things that I never did. All right. And this is the difference with them. And you're only working evil things. So even though they have better interpretations, they believe in, certain things, certain evil is there. All right. And you look at the sacrifice. Sacrifice is a big thing where that evil is there.
Start over?
Yeah, I would say.
Did check it. Is it counted?
Yeah. It's,
yeah. Okay. With next one. Yeah. With next one. If anything, just when it gets to the end, because it goes up to 30 minutes. So you do have a little bit of a gap. I just do it beforehand. So when he was done with everybody else, all right. So next time, if it goes into our next cycle, cut that one and start it back clean now, so I don't have to edit that. All right. Shamar, this when he starts it back, you give us the cue so you can just say continue.
Okay, I'm gonna start at 3, 2.
All right, continue for.
And Yeshua said unto the people many other things, as written for a testimony unto all nations. And when he had finished his sermon on the mountain, the people were astonished at his great perception of all things. For Yeshua taught them as one appealing to reason and to the human heart, and not as the scribes and the Pharisees who only taught by blind authority.
All right. So Yeshua taught them as one appealing to reason, all right, using reason, using nature. attaching things to the heart, the human heart, all right, and not as the scribes and Pharisees who taught only by blind authority. So their authority is blind, all right. They had blind authority. Let me show you that they're teaching by blind authority and what that means. We'll go into the essential of Isaiah real quick. Yeah. All right, we're going to place that in the chat there. All right, so this is an addition. All right.
All right, this is out of the Ascension of Isaiah, chapter 3, starting at the 23rd verse. And in those days, many will love office, though devoid of wisdom.
All right, so in these days, all right, and Isaiah is given the latter days, all right, many is going to love office, though devoid of wisdom. All right, so they're going to be blind, all right, void of wisdom, but holding positions. All right, continue.
And there will be many lawless elders and shepherds dealing wrongfully by their own sheep, and they will ravage them owing to their not only having holy shepherds. This is Ascension of Isaiah, chapter 3, starting at the 25th verse now. And many will change the honor of the garments of the saints, of the garments of the covetous, and there will be much respect of person in those days, and lovers of the honor of this world.
All right, so many will change the honor of the garments of the saints, all right, and to the garments of the covenants. And there's going to be much respecter of persons, as we're seeing right now. There's a whole bunch of respecter of persons among the Hebrew community. All right, continue.
And there will be much slander and vainglory at the approach of the Lord, and the Holy Spirit will withdraw from many.
All right, so there's going to be much slander, vainglory at their approach, at the coming of the Messiah. All right, continue.
And there will not be in those days many prophets, nor those who speak trustworthy words, save one here and there in diverse places.
All right, so there's not going to be many trustworthy prophets or people who you could trust their words, except here or there in diverse places. Diverse, all right. And we're in a diverse place, all right? I know many of the people watching never thought that they would, listening to lessons from people who's in Canada, all right? Especially Hebrews in Canada, all right? So we're in diverse places, and this is how far people have to go and travel to hear the true words now, because it's not among the populace there over there in the USA like that, all right? But it's in a diverse place over here, which is known for its diversity, all right? Continue.
Verse 28, on account of the spirit of error and fornication and of vainglory and of covetousness, which shall be in those who will be called servants of that one, and in those who will receive that one. And there will be great hatred in the shepherds and elders toward each other.
All right, so there's going to be great hatred, all right, with the shepherds and the elders towards one another. And this, what we said, they were all one Sadducee sect at one time, all right? They were all operated together. You go back and they're all kumbaya together at one time, all right? And then the Pharisee spirit sect broke off and start giving that interpretation of the things and coming into the full Pharisee way, while the other ones, they started to hit the same spirit that Christ was going to be there. That was going to start to break up the elders, and they were all going to go against each other. That's what we're seeing happening in today's day. So they give us the understanding of what we're seeing today and transpiring. All right, continue.
And there will be great hatred in the shepherds and elders towards each other, and there will be great jealousy in the last days, for everyone will say what is pleasing to their own eyes.
All right, so there will be great jealousy in the last days. People jealous of, oh, this one has more. All of that's going on. All right. And everyone's saying what pleasing to their own eyes. So they're not searching for truth no more. Whatever suits their heart and their spirit and their imagination, That's what they're rolling with. All right. We obtain the information we're obtaining because we're actually searching for the actual truth and not, yo, you know what, this is what we feel, you know, is right. That's what, yeah. And just relaxing. We're actually searching through and seeping through and sifting through everything. All right.
Verse 31. And they will make none affect the prophecy of the prophets which were before me. And these, my visions also, will they make of none effect, in order to speak after the impulse of their own heart.
All right. And these visions and things and prophecies, they're going to make none effect so that they can speak after the impulse of their own heart. And this is how deceptions and all of this go. Even if they find it, they're going to hide it because that's not what their heart goes to. So they're shut it up and tell you, oh, these things are false. Don't go into it. Don't even go over. Don't even read it. Don't even, you know, look at it. Okay. Spook you. All right. So we use spookism on, all right. And everyone was on that. Oh, what is that? What book is that? Oh, don't open it. Don't open it. So it's going to run out the place when you open a book or a record. All right. But these is the blind impulses of the blind authority that is going on, that the Messiah is speaking about in the humane gospel. All right. So we're going to go to the humane gospel part 4, and we're going to see Christ give us some even more detail on the Pharisees.
For many shall the miracles of the strange God work in the earth, and the people shall worship that Savior with much devotion. For all hope rests in the God that is not a God, but deceiveth the people of every nation. But the eternal Spirit of all shall send forth his holy messengers, and they shall restore the holy law anew, which wicked men have hidden by their vain traditions. And those that believe not the holy law shall perish.
All right. So at this time, the holy law is going to start to be restored. All right. And as we're reading this and going through this, we, you know, maybe there's people that's going to come and restore it to its fullness. But right now, we are the people that's restoring these laws and the doctrines to their fullest capacity as we can. All right. There's nobody else doing it like, you know, what we're doing, you know, that's openly out there that you could go, that you could try to get into, that's visible. If there's some secret hidden thing, then that's different. But people out there that's actually, you know, presenting themselves doing this, we are those people that's renewing and restoring the holy law. And even some people who deal with the humane gospel and know it, they don't have it in its fullness. All right. There are people that's heard it from around the way. You know, it came out from this way. So they probably heard it from somewhere else and, you know, they're trying to find a way, but they're not getting it to its fullness and doing it to the capacity that we're doing it. Right, continue.
And in that day shall they, and in that day shall all they that keep my law and commandments be hated of all nations for my name's sake. For many shall be offended at my holy laws, and betray one another, and shall hate one another. For many false prophets shall indeed arise, and shall deceive many.
All right. So many shall be offended at the holy laws. All right. And when we first brought it out, this is what happened. All right. Offense started to come. Camps started to make videos. People were saying, what are you talking about? You can't tell me I can't eat this, can't do. And that's just the beginning. That was just the first phase of it. All right. Because, you know, we've gone quiet and, you know, doing underground right now. The presence is not there like before to where they can come and, you know, say their mind or state what they want to feel until we start to go back out there and proclaim, you know, you shouldn't be doing this. And you'll see that same offense come back. Just tell somebody you shouldn't be eating meat or, you know, eating flesh, I should say, and see their reaction, you know, to, yo, who you talking to? Who can't eat? Especially a Hebrew, all right, who believes in the law of Moses. All right, continue.
Yea, I tell ye, in that age yet to come, the Father's name shall be blasphemed in a manner like never before in the history of the world, greater than ever the star count of the heaven itself.
All right. So in that age yet to come, the Father's name is going to be blasphemed. All right. So he's speaking about this age. The Most High's name is going to be blasphemed, not Christ's name. All right. The Father's name, Ahaya, is going to be blasphemed in a manner like never before in the history of the world, greater than even the star count itself. So this is a prophecy that's given to us out of the humane gospel, all right, telling us that in the age yet to come, so it wasn't in his days, it wasn't when they were there, this name wasn't out there, all right, that in a latter time, the name of the Father is going to be blasphemed like never before in the history of the whole world, all right, greater than the star count itself. All right, and it's going to tell us why. Continue.
For hands dripping with the innocent blood of my creatures will take up my name in vain and mislead many, and they will follow the ways of the Pharisees and not the true path of the pure oblation.
All right, so hands dripping with blood. All right, so these hands that are dripping with blood, we're going to take up the Most High's name. All right, so we know that these people that take this is going under the spirit of the Pharisees, which we said. All right, they're under the spirit of the Sadducees. They broke off, they found a name, and then now they're proclaiming the name under the Pharisaical spirit. All right, so they're going to take up the name in vain and mislead many. And there's only one camp that's using the name. We know that the name is Ahaya Shahaya, given to you in Exodus 13. We know that that's the name. All right.
Exodus 3.
Exodus 3 and 13. All right. We know that's the name given. All right. And we know that there's only one other group of Israelites that believe that name. Okay. And we know that they have many people. And these many people are operating under the sacrifices that the Pharisees were dealing with. And these many people being happy and thinking that they've reached the kingdom are shouting out the Most High's name every chance they get over all the sacrifices. All right. We know, because I used to be one of those people. All right. Under the sacrifice, you know, blessing it, all of these things, you know, and that's blaspheming the Most High's name to bring the Most High's name into that. Hold on, we're gonna go to this. Let me get
Remember that video that we have up there making the spit. And,
yeah.
But yeah, the end, all praises to the Most High.
We're gonna go to Exodus 20 and 7.
Just verse 7, that's it.
Yeah. Put it in the chat.
Right here.
Yeah.
All right, this is out of the book of Exodus, chapter 20, verse 7. Thou shalt not take the name of the Most High thy power in vain, for the Most High will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. All
right, so the Most High says, thou shalt not take his name in vain. And this is a serious command. And even back in the days when the scribes were dealing with the false name of Baal, they didn't have the name of the Most High. The name of the Most High didn't have to bring into that stuff. The name of the Most High was given to Moses. Then after it was lost, and then it was given to what we call Gad the seer, and then David and them got it, and then it was found again, and then Elijah had it. Everybody in Yasharallah didn't believe. Elijah brought it down to Syria, and the name wasn't there for them in their deceptions to use, which is different now, because now the name has appeared onto them and they're using in the deception. All right, we're going to see what vain means. I'm going to put the definition inside the chat.
All right, this is the definition for vain out of the Strong's Concordance. It says Hebrew word H7723, H7723, Shava, from the same as H7722, in a sense of desolating, evil, as destructive, literally ruin, or morally, especially guile, figuratively idolatry, as false, subjectively uselessness, as deceptive, objectively, also adverbally, in vain, false, falsely, lied, lying, vain, vanity.
All right, so vain is synonymous with evil, all right, ruin, false, all right, deception, all right, and lying. All right, so bringing the Most High's name into deception and a lie. All right, the Most High hates when that is done. When you bring, you bring the dude whatever to the law, whatever, but when you bring his name into it and attach his name onto it now and stamp it, like, yeah, that's a whole different thing now. And that's what the Pharisees of this age was going to do. All right, they were going to find the name of the Most High, and they were going to put under it the blood sacrifices and the mannerisms of the Pharisees. And the Pharisees were going to take on the clothing of the Essenes, all right, and even declare that they're an order of the sons of Zadok. So we're going to go and continue.
Yea, Many lies will be spoken of me in that age, things I spoke not unto ye, nor taught not. For they will lust after much flesh and sin, and their evil will mount higher than a new moon of thy season, and many will believe and be lost.
All right. So many lies will be spoken of him in this age. Things he never spoke, things he never taught, things he never said. And that's what people are doing. All right. And they're going to lust after much flesh. These feast days, much flesh is being given unto them. All right. Because they're operating under a certain way. We're going to go to Isaiah 56. We're going to go to Isaiah 56 and 10 to 12.
All right, this is out of the book of the prophet Isaiah, chapter 56, starting at the 10th verse. His watchmen are blind. They are all ignorant. They are all dumb dogs. They cannot bark, sleeping, laying down, loving to slumber. Yea, they are greedy dogs, which can never have enough. And they are shepherds that cannot understand. They all look to their own way, every one for his gain from his quarter. Come ye, say they, I will fetch wine, and we will fill ourselves with strong drink, and the morrow shall be as this day, and much more abundant.
All right. So they're all blind, ignorant, dumb dogs. They cannot bark, sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber. They are greedy dogs, which can never have enough. They are shepherds that cannot understand. They all look to their own way. All right. And this is the mannerisms that they're under. This is the mannerisms that they're under right now. Right. And they're all partying like it's the kingdom is here. And this is what has them all distracted. All right. They're eating the flesh. They're eating much flesh, drinking much wine. And this has blinded them to where if you have a watchman and he's drinking alcohol and, eating, certain amounts of food and its flesh as well, the watchman's going to be, sleepy, and they're not going to be watching. They're not going to be barking. They're going to have that itis, okay, that spiritual itis, to where they're sleeping. And that's what's going on. All right, continue first.
Yea, sheep will there be, but shepherds few. For the wolves shall destroy the sheep and scatter them about as the north wind scatters the fallen leaves. For many are the hopes of that age to come, but like the bow in the sky after the rain cometh, disappeareth into nothingness. Though great be their Savior, only hopelessness shall reign over the nations. I tell ye, better for that generation not to have been born into the world, for darkness filleth that age, and gross darkness the people where the lie ruleth their hearts of many.
All right. So it'd be better for them to not even be born, those of this generation, of this age. All right. For darkness filleth this age, gross darkness, the people where the lie ruleth the hearts of many. So their hearts are ruling, and their lie is ruling in the hearts of many people, as we see. All right. And these people, it's not like, we all know that every soul we feel, sorry for, but it's not like those souls, they have a certain, the Sadducee side, they have a certain, spirit to them where you're like, you don't feel sorry for them. They have that, you deserve what you get. All right. But these people that's coming under the Pharisee or GOCC type camps, these people are actually, they have that, they're looking for that love. They want that family unit. They're looking for the truth. They're looking for the exact interpretation, but the leader is ruling their hearts with the lie. And this is what Christ is speaking about in these times. All right. That woe, all right, unto the people where the lie ruleth the hearts of many, and they're operating under the Essene, doctrine, not the doctrine per se, but that spirit. They're trying to operate under that, wearing the white, separating themselves from the Sadducee type people, showing love, making sure they show love and family and all of these things, and try to give the best accurate interpretation of the law. And that's what their whole thing stems off. And then giving you the name of the Most High and saying, you know what, this is the great thing that we're giving you, not knowing that the scripture says the Pharisees would get the name. All right. This is why we have to study every topic, everything that's being said. Because if you don't know who the Pharisees is and all of these things, they don't know that this name would be found by the Pharisees. And this is why they would even take this out of the scriptures. All right. But it's letting us know in the humane gospel clearly what the wolves in sheep clothing Christ was speaking about and what that meant. So we're going to go to some of the old beliefs of the Pharisees. And you can see that the Pharisees, to step up into the Essene way of life, they had to change some of their beliefs. So we're going to see it in the New Testament, some of the beliefs that they had at that time and the beliefs that they have now. All right. So we're at Matthew 3 and 4.
I'm going to just stop it and just start it back over. All right, this is out of the book of St. Matthew, chapter 3, starting at the 4th verse. And the same John had his raiment of camel's hair and a leathered girdle about his loins, and his meat was locusts and wild honey. Then went out to him Jerusalem and all Judea and all the... Am I reading the right scriptures now? Salakia. I'm going to start over. All right, it's the book of St. Matthew, chapter 3, starting at the 4th verse. And the same John had his raiment of camel's hair and a leathered girdle about his loins, and his meat was locusts and wild honey. Then went out to him Jerusalem and all Judea and all the region round about Jordan, and were baptized of him in Jordan, confessing their sins. But when he saw many of the Pharisees and Sadducees come to his baptism, he said unto them, O generation of vipers, who have warned you to flee from the wrath to come?
All right. So the Pharisees and Sadducees at this time didn't believe in baptism. All right. But for the Pharisees now to come into the sheep clothing, they had to take on baptism. So the Pharisees of today, they deal with baptism, even though the Pharisees of old didn't deal with baptism. All right. So modern day Pharisees, in order to wear the sheep clothing, they had to take on baptism. All right. So baptism is now taken on by the modern day Pharisees. We are operating under the camp GOCC. All right. So they're dealing with baptism when before they didn't, because they were there with the Pharisees and Sadducees. I mean, they were there with the Sadducees seeing the baptism. All right. So they didn't believe at these times. And we have Nicodemus, who was didn't believe as well at those times. So they showed you that they didn't believe in baptism then, but they believe it now, because now, as Christ told you, they're entering into the sheep's clothing. All right. So we're going to go to Matthew 9 and 10.
It's the book of St. Matthew, chapter 9, starting at the 10th verse. And it came to pass, as Yeshua sat at meat in the house, behold, many publicans and sinners came and sat down with him and his disciples. And when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto his disciples, Why eateth your master with publicans and sinners?
All right. So the Pharisees at this time, they didn't sit with, publicans and sinners. All right. This is modern day Pharisees will sit down with publicans and sinners. All right. They'll sit down and have, people who herbalists come on their show and do things with these people. They'll sit down and, try to go on to the other types of people. All right. They do that. They have that spirit. Now they're trying to show that family, homegrown spirit. All right. So before, the Pharisees didn't believe in dealing with the publicans and the sinners, but the modern day Pharisees, in order to wear the clothing of the sheep, had to take that on. All right. So we're going to go to Matthew 12 and 1.
All right, this is the book of St. Matthew, chapter 12, starting at the 1st verse. At that time, Yeshua went on the Sabbath day through the corn, and his disciples were an hungered, and began to pluck the ears of corn and to eat. But when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto him, Behold, thy disciples do that which is not lawful to do upon the Sabbath day. But he said unto them, Have ye not read what David did when he was an hungered, and they that were with him, how he entered into the house of the Most High and did eat the showbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, neither for them which were with him, but only for the priests? Or have ye not read the law, how that on the Sabbath day the priests in the temple profane the Sabbath and are blameless? But I say unto you that in this place is one greater than the temple. But if ye had known what this meaneth, I will have mercy and not sacrifice, ye would not have condemned the guiltless.
All right. So at this time, the Pharisees didn't understand the dealings on the Shabbat. All right. That what was lawful to do, the eating and the plucking of the grains and certain things. The Pharisees of today, they understand that. They do that. They exercise that. Right. Because they're taking on the clothing of the disciples and the Essenes. All right. So this is the understanding that they had at that time. And they're more advanced now. They're modern day. In order to become the sheep in wolves' clothing, they had to do these things. And this was the warning that Christ was giving us. All right. To observe these Pharisees, observe what they do, and look at their righteousness. Look how they behave themselves. And we actually have to surpass this righteousness. And this is how comes the Essenes and them monitor them all well and seen what they did and whatever. And they always made sure that they kept tabs on them, all right, to ensure that these things are being done and you know what they're doing. All right, that's what comes in the Dead Sea Scrolls. They'll show you, oh, this is the days that they're following. This is what they're doing. Even though they weren't with them, they knew how they're operating and what they were doing. All right, continue for us.
Matthew 19.
Yeah, Matthew 19:3.
All right, this is out of the book of St. Matthew, chapter 19, verse 3. The Pharisees also came unto him, tempting him, and saying unto him, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? And he answered and said unto them, have ye not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female? And said, for this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they shall twain, and shall be one flesh. Wherefore they are no more twain, but one flesh. What therefore the Most High had joined together, let no man put asunder.
All right. So the Pharisees at this time, all right, they didn't understand the bill of divorcement and those things. All right. The Pharisees in the modern day, they understand that and proclaim that. They even come to these scriptures and teach that. So you see how the Pharisees have gotten more modern on this. That's why it's called modern day Pharisees. And we have to know who these modern day ones are, because Christ gives us, an exact thing to do. All right. That our righteousness must surpass their righteousness. All right. And now they're taking on the righteousness of the Essenes. So we have to make sure that we're executing these things. We're executing love better, unity better, all of these things better than they are, because this is how they have the pull on the people. This is what they're using. And we've seen that Christ, the most beloved one, he was able to sway people back to him, but still couldn't sway all the people. All right. And you've seen how much Christ showed love and compassion, and he still wasn't able to sway all the people. They killed him. All right. So they had a lot of sway on the people. And that's because the people, the imagination of their own heart is working against them. All right. So we're at Acts 15:4.
All right. This is out of the book of Acts, chapter 15, starting at the 4th verse. And when they were come to Jerusalem, they were received of the church and of the apostle and elders, and they declared all things that the Most High had done with them. But there rose up a certain sect of the Pharisees which believed, saying that it was needful to circumcise them and to command them to keep the law of Moses. And the apostle and elders came together for to consider of this matter.
All right. So the Pharisees at this time believed that, you had to get the circumcision. Okay. They even compelling the Gentiles to do it. All right. The Pharisees of the modern day, they don't believe that. All right. They understand that, circumcision of the flesh. This is what I'm saying to you, that the Pharisees of the modern day have well blended in with the sheep and using these doctrines. Before, it was easy to pinpoint them out. All right. But now they're taking on the doctrines that they used to reject. Okay. They're taking it on in order to become that sheep in wolves' clothing, that wolves in sheep clothing. All right. So this is what's going on here. At this times, they didn't deal with these things. They didn't deal with forcing circumcision. At this time, they force circumcision and all those things on the people. They don't do that anymore. They understand circumcision of the heart. They understand, even though they don't know literally as the heart, right? Because they don't know the heart is the actual mind. All right. So give us Matthew 23.
This is out of the book of St. Matthew, chapter 23, verse 12. And whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased, and he that shall humble himself shall be exalted.
All right, and this is what's going on. All right, as it showed you in the Ascension of Isaiah, many people are just going and holding office and exalting themselves. All right, and them jumping in these positions, they're exalting themselves, and eventually they're going to get abased. All right, because even though they're in these positions and all that, you don't know nothing. Even Christ said it. You know, you're a master of Yasharala, and you don't know these things. All right, so they're going to be abased when it comes to knowledge and all of these things, and revealing that they didn't really know anything. All right, and those who humble themselves shall be exalted. All right, so us over here, who's operating, we never wanted these positions. Okay, none of these positions ever wanted. All right, we want to be regular people, and the abasement of that, we see that the Most High is now exalted, saying, you know what, these are the things for you to have. All right, these are the things for you to do, and come in these positions. And he's placing us in this position, not us going and taking on Ken, wanting to be an elder, and just us love for the truth has brought us into this place, the food, which is the doctrine in our hand to give to the people. All right. So this is what's going on. They exalt themselves into the positions, and eventually they'll be abased. We abased ourselves, not wanting them, and the Most High is exalting us. All right. And we're starting from the bottom. All right, so continue for us.
Verse 13. But woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye shut up the kingdom of heaven against men. For ye neither go in yourselves, neither suffer ye them that are entering to go in.
All right, so these hypocrites, all right, these ones that are dealing with deceit and deception, they shut up the kingdom, all right, and they don't go in themselves, and they shut it up for other people to go in. All right, so even though they don't want to do it, and some of them even read these scriptures and then say, don't go into it. All right, that's shutting up the door. All right, so continue for us.
Verse 14. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye devour widows' houses, and for penitence make long prayer. Therefore ye shall receive the greater damnation. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye compass sea and land to make one proselyte. And when he is made, ye make him twofold more the child of hell than yourselves.
All right. So these scribes and Pharisees, all right, and that's what I'm telling you. They're going sea. They're taking plane here and there. Video. Yeah, I'm on the plane. Yeah, we're going San Fran. I'm going New England next. I'm going there. Baptizing. This is what they're doing. Go sea to sea, and they're making the people even more wicked than themselves. All right, and this is what's being told here by Christ. All right, so continue.
Verse 16. Woe unto you, ye blind guides, which say, whosoever shall swear by the temple, it is nothing. But whosoever shall swear by the gold of the temple, he is a debtor. Ye fools are blind. Salakia, ye fools and blind. For whether is greater the gold or the temple that sanctifieth the gold? And whosoever shall swear by the altar, it is nothing. But whosoever sweareth by the gift that is upon it, he is guilty. The fools are blind, for whether is greater, the gift or the altar that sanctifies the gift? Whosoever therefore shall swear by the altar sweareth by it, and by all things thereon. And whoso shall swear by the temple sweareth by it, and by him that dwelleth therein. And he that shall swear by heaven sweareth by the throne of the Most High, and by him that sitteth thereon. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. These ought ye to have done, and not to leave the other undone.
All right, so they tithe, they do all of those things, and they omit the weightier things of the matter. So, and they'll tell you to tithe, and they'll tell you to do all of those things, and they'll set up structures for the money structure. But when it comes to the research structure, it's broken. Okay, and they're the weightier things of the law, they're not going into, because if they even actually went and researched with a pure heart, they would come across these things, because they have the means to know these things. They know how to go into definitions, strong, all of these things, but they just blindly, with their own imagination, rejecting these things that's being brought to them. All right, so continue.
Verse 24. Ye blind guides, which strain at a gnat and swallow a camel, Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye make clean the outside of the cup and of the platter, but within they are full of extortion and excess. Thou blind Pharisee, cleanse first that which is within the cup and platter, that the outside of them may be clean also. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye are like unto whited sepulchres, which indeed appear beautiful outward, but are within full of dead men's bones and of all uncleanness.
All right. So woe unto these scribes, these hypocrites, all right, because they're beautiful outwardly, but inwardly there's death and all of these things inside of them. All right. And that's going to, even today, the Pharisees of today, the modern day Pharisee, they do baptism and all of that. But guess what? They're not doing inward baptism. They're not caring about what's inside of them. So they're even more growing into this, appearing outward beautifully, and inwardly they're death and a tomb. All right. So continue for us.
Verse 28. Even so ye also outwardly appear righteous unto men, but within ye are full of hypocrisy and iniquity.
All right. So they even also appear outwardly righteous to men. All right. But inside, there's deceit and hypocrisy. All right. There's hypocrisy and iniquity, deceit and sin. All right. So deceit and sin is inside. And that's what we're seeing. Even though those who operate like the Pharisees today, GOCC is showing this love, family, wearing the white, whatever, we know within them is a lot of deceit and sin that's piling up. All right. And they're taking on the spirit of the Pharisees and fulfilling the prophecy concerning them. All right. Continue.
Verse 29. Woe unto you, scribe and Pharisees, hypocrites, because ye build the tombs of the prophets and garnish the sepulchres of the righteous, and say, if we had been in the days of our fathers, we would not have been partakers with them in the blood of the prophets. Wherefore ye be witnesses unto yourselves, that ye are the children of them which killed the prophets.
All right. And it said, all right, this is what he's saying. He's saying that they said, if they had been in the days of our fathers, they would not have been partakers with the things that was going on. All right. And their spirit bear witness against them that they are the children of the murderers. All right. Which killed the prophets. All right. They're the children of them which killed the prophets, because they have the same spirit. We're here doing the things that Christ and the disciples were saying, and you have that same spirit that's coming against them, the same spirit that ended up killing them. All right. And they're a witness unto themselves. So Christ is showing you that they're just resurrected up the spirit of their own forefathers. They're just modern day versions of those of before. All right. That's why we call this modern day Pharisees. All right. Because it's nothing new. It's just a modern day version. All right. And it happens a little differently, and how they're operating and what their teaching is a little different. And we see why. All right. So continue.
Verse 32. Fill ye up then the measure of your fathers, ye serpents, ye generation of vipers. How can ye escape the damnation of hell? Wherefore, behold, I send unto you prophets and wise men and scribes, and some of them ye shall kill and crucify, and some of them ye shall scourge in your synagogues and persecute them from city to city, that upon you may come all the righteous blood shed upon the earth, from the blood of righteous Abel unto the blood of Zacharias, the son of Barachias, whom ye slew between the temple and the altar. Verily I say unto you, all these things shall come upon this generation.
All right. So we see Christ giving clear warnings to the Pharisees on how they operate. And we see they're still operating the same way today. All right. So we're going to go to the humane gospel part 2. And we're going to see how Christ tells the disciples they should behave in mannerisms. All right. And we're going to go to the humane gospel part 2.
All right, this is out of the humane gospel. And this is part 2. And continue to preach in the public squares and in every house of worship wherein ye are welcome. Be ye not peddlers of the truths of the Most High, for precious are the gems devils and evil men would trample upon.
All right. So they tell us to go out there and preach the word in the public squares, in the places where we're welcome. All right. And not to peddle the truth. All right. So we see that, these camps are even peddling the truth. All right. So we're not going to peddle, especially these truths here. All right. When we set up, the Most High gave us a system of structure that, that can help, keep us self-sufficient. And that's what we've been setting up, where we don't have to peddle the truth for that. We just follow and have the system that the Most High put in for that stuff. All right. But some people, because they know how the people are, they want to get more out of them. They set up a system of structure on, selling the truth. And we're not to go out and do that. So that mannerism is to be upon us. All right. We're to have this great truth and give it to the people for free. All right. As long as, we're doing all the things that's required of us by the Most High. Continue.
Therefore, go ye not from house to house as the merchant doth, imagining greatness of things which are not great, but small in the eyes of the Most High. For the Most High knoweth the sheep, and the sheep heareth his voice, and come out from darkness.
All right. So it says, go not from house to house as a merchant does. And this is what they start to do, because they're like, oh, you know what? We got so much people. You know what we're going to do? Go visit all of them. And, get all the gifts and the chairs, and, because, when you go check all these people, different places, everyone's going to give you something everywhere, right? So this is what Christ is telling us not to do. So when we're not going house to house just to come, let's chill you and big party and get all your blessings or whatever. It's missions, it's things that we're trying to accomplish. All right, and they disguise it as things they're trying to accomplish, but they're really going to seek the vain glory from house to house and congregation to congregation.
Starstruck people.
All right. So we're not to go and operate like that. So we wouldn't be operating under those ways. All right. Continue.
For I say unto ye all, the perfect Father perceived the hearts of men, and sendeth his holy angels as messengers to guide thy steps, and maketh the roadway before thee. Ye bringeth the truth unto men, but mine angels separate the sheep from the goats, and leadeth you in all things.
All right. So the angels, all right, are as the messengers, guide the steps and the ways, and they send the people to us, and all we're to do is give the truth, and that's what it does. Word of mouth goes out, all this goes out, and people start coming. And trust me, when the people have this spirit, their spirit is yearning for this. They're gonna come, and they're like, "Yo, I need to be in. I need to." And this is how a lot of people who's watching this can relate to that. You can't be like, "Yo, I need to know you're on the outside. I need to get in," and you come looking. All right, it's the spirit of the Most High going out there, and the Most High naturally is gonna bring us across these people. And as we've been saying, the Freemasons who copy, the order of the sons of Zadok, that's the same way they operate. When the spirit goes out, they know Satan's sending them people. They know they don't have to go out on the street preach. All right. When the other camp, you have the Jehovah Witness, you have Mormons, you have all of them outside going door to door, doing all of these things. The Freemasons just get a building, they operate in their thing, their order, and slowly but surely people get sent to them and come to their doorsteps, come to all this. And I shared a video there that, I went there to confront them, and this is what they said. All right. This is what they said. That this is how people join. It's people who the spirit is on, and they just come and they look for them. And first, it's usually, they have a problem, and then they say, come see, check it out. It's not what it's. And then they usually get sucked in like that. But they don't go and promote outside like that. All right. So continue for us.
Cast not the Christ before devils, lest they trample him underfoot, and bring shame to thy all parent in heaven. For the fine pearl is Christ, but the poor in spirit only receive him. Yea, the worldly wise seek only the vanity of the world, and corrupt themselves by it. For they seek not the all truth, which leadeth to life eternal, but the empty sayings of men, which lead to sin and death.
All right. So the fine pearl is Christ. Well, only the poor in spirit can receive him. We are poor in spirit is understanding Christ's true manners and how he operated all of this. And these people, even though they try to hang on to the Zadokite Essene way and mannerisms and love, the fame and the money and all of these things blind them, and they don't see that they're hanging on to these sayings and these words because of these things. All right. So continue.
Be ye fishers of men, and cast thy nets for the riches of heaven, in that ye become not crude tools of Satan, but fine instruments of Christ, ever seeking the lost sheep of the Most High, scattered about in every nation of man, even as the waters cover the sea basins. For I tell ye, truly, Satan also gathers seed into the evil harvest, and whatsoever Satan gathereth, he keepeth and declared victory over the good. But I say unto ye all, whatsoever this one doeth, leave it be. For authority is granted the evil one to gather seed, even as the holy angels gather the righteous seed of the Most High, over whom Satan hath no power.
All right. So this is what it's showing you. All right. That Satan is even going to be gathering the evil seed. And you're going to see the evil seed be gathered. And we're not to trouble it. He says, don't trouble it. You know, the wicked one is given his authority to go. They're given their authority to do these camps. That's because we're not here, you know, we're different because they expect to, you know, attack on them at all times. But we know what they're here to do. We know that they're here to fulfill a prophecy. And Satan, he's been given certain things to do. And we're not here to stop that. All right. We're here to do our job, and they're going to do their job. All right. But we just have to ensure that the people who come across understand these things the same way Josephus wrote it. And all of these things was brought out with the differences between Sadducees and Pharisees. It's the same thing we're doing now, so that those who come after could see the same thing in modern day, understand it. All right. So continue for us.
Yea, holy angels knoweth the seed of the Most High, and leadeth you unto every one of them. But ye shall feed my sheep with the truths of the kingdom. And if any man deny to feed the sheep of the true fold, he shall not inherit the blessings laid down even from the foundation of the world. Go and feed the lost sheep, even Yasha Allah, and every nation of men who love righteousness and the pure oblation, teach unto them all that I have taught you. If they be of the true fold, they will listen to thy voice and know that ye speak in the Christ.
All right. So the angels know this, the true seed, all right, and lead us to the true seed. All right. So the angels know the true seed and lead us to the true seed. All right. And the sheep, and you know, and we are to feed those sheep with the truths of the kingdom. All right. All right. And so we're going to go and expound more on the evil seed that Satan is gathering. I'm going to put this inside the chat. All right. We're going to go to early church father Hippolytus, and he's going to expound on Christ and the Antichrist and the evil seed that Satan is gathering. All right. So we're seeing that we're seeing that the angels is gathering those into the Essene way, the Essene knowledge, the community, you know, trying to strive for that way. And yeah, you know, these people are not going to be perfect. They're going to be found with sin, but they're striving to that perfection. All right. And we're going to have Satan gathering the others, and especially unto the Pharisaic ones. All right. That's the ones that Christ is warning us about, because they're able to get the people with a certain spirit. All right. So we're going to put on Christ and the Antichrist by Hippolytus.
Okay. On Christ and Antichrist. The Savior came into the world, into the circumcision, and he will come in the same manner. The Lord sent apostle among all the nations, and he in like manner will send false prophets. The Savior gathered together the sheep that were scattered abroad, and he in a like manner will bring together a people that is scattered abroad. The Lord gave a seal to those who believe on him, and he will give one like manner. The Savior appeared in the form of man, and he too will come in the form of a man.
All right, so this is showing us the Antichrist and the Christ, all right, and Christ. And the same way Christ is gathering the lost sheep who are scattered abroad, it's the same way Satan, all right, is gathering his lost sheep, all right, his own version of the lost sheep. And we see them being gathered. They're being gathered. Somebody's gathering them, all right. Why are they gathering them? Okay, so it's not the Most High. So it's not the Most High gathering those. The Most High is gathering his sheep, all right, which we know is coming under the Essene mind state and the Essene, teachings. But who's gathering all these other Israelites, and what are they being gathered for? Okay, okay, because they're being gathered and they're being set up All right, and they're being set up for something. All right, we know what we're being gathered for with Christ, but why is Satan gathering them? And this is what we have to understand, that, you know, and this is one day we have to go more into the Antichrist, understanding that they're being gathered for a point in time. All right, where this deception is going to come out fully. All right, so the gathering, we're waiting for our Messiah, and they're waiting for their Messiah. Okay, and one comes before the other. The first shall be last, last shall be first. So the false always comes first. All right, the false flag first. All right, so the false flag, the false Messiah, that comes first before our Messiah. The same way, the false doctrine, the false Pharisees, the false Essenes come out first before the true ones. All right, and people have to be enduring to the end to be saved. All right. So this shows us that they're gathering. Satan is gathering tribes. He's gathering Israelites to himself. All right, and this is what's going to happen in the end times. A lesson in the future will expound on that and the Antichrist. So we're going to go to the humane gospel part 2.
All right. Out of the humane gospel here, part 2. Yeshua sends forth his apostles unto Yasha'Allah and the nations. And Yeshua gathered unto himself the holy 12, even his apostles after his name, that he might send them forth unto Yasha'Allah. And the names of the holy 12 who stood for the 12 tribes of Yasha'Allah are these: Peter, called Cephas, for the tribe of Reuben; James, for the tribe of Naphtali; Thomas, called Dimdas, for the tribe of Judah; Matthew, called Levi, for the tribe of Gad; John, for the tribe of Ephraim; Simon, for the tribe of Issachar; Andrew, for the tribe of Joseph; Nathanael, for the tribe of Simeon; Thaddeus, for the tribe of Zebulun; Jacob, brackets James, for the tribe of Benjamin; Jude, for the tribe of Dan; Philip, for the tribe of Asher; and Judas Iscariot, who was among the disciples, but was not an apostle; and also Barsabbas, and Matthias were present with them. Then Yeshua, in like manner, called forth 12 others to be prophets from among the holy brotherhood, the Essene elect, saints, men of light, to be with the apostles and show unto them the hidden things of the Most High. And their names were Hermes, Ascribotulus, Selenius, Nereus, Apollos, and Barsabbas, also Andronicus, Lucius, Apelles, Zacchaeus, Urbanus, and Clementos. And then Yeshua called who should be evangelists, and I should be pastors. And I who should be pastors, a fourfold 12 did he call, and many others he would send unto the people of the nations, that they might hear also the truths of the righteous brotherhood. And after a time, Yeshua went up unto a mountain and prayed, and did meditate on the good work ahead. For the time had arrived to make ready many disciples in truth of the holy law, for they would be sent out into the world as testimony to the holy way of life. And Yeshua would give them power against unclean spirits and demons, and physical health reform.
All right, so this is what they went out with. All right, the world with a testimony. All right, they went out with power against unclean spirits and demons, and they had physical health reform. And that's what we've been practicing on. You know, first we have to practice on ourselves, get acquainted with it, learn it, have some failures and things, so, you know, with this health, because we're not physicians ourselves, but this is what we're becoming, learning about herbs, learning about this, learning about the anatomy of the body. We're slowly getting that physical health reform, spiritual and physical, all right, to be able to heal people, all right, and also go out and have power over the demons and stuff like that. All right, so this is how they were going out and operating amongst the people. All right, so continue for us.
Yea, a fourfold 12 did Yeshua call forth and prepare, that he might send them first to the tribes of Yasha'Allah, unto each 4. And Yeshua spoke many things unto his chosen ones for the missions ahead, and every mystery of the holy way was revealed unto them. And the chosen ones accepted the calling, and listened to every word Yeshua spake unto them. For Yeshua promised to be with them in their trials and tribulations, and in all their rejoicing in the teaching of the holy way. And after a time, when all had been chosen and made ready by instructions of Yeshua, they all together stood around the Christ, dressed in white linen robes, even assembled to be a holy priesthood unto the Most High.
All right, so they assembled in the white. They did all of that. All right, they were well taught. The way they went out, mysteries, all of these things before they went out. These things have to be done. So comes we're not going out like that yet. We're making sure everybody understands certain things. The same way Christ made sure the disciples understood certain things, exact interpretation, mysteries of this, mystery. So in order, when people go out, they're well equipped to deal with everything. All right, and this is how Christ sent them out. So he didn't send out people who weren't ready and able to handle these things that were coming upon them. All right, these people were ready and able. All right, continue for us.
Thus, these fourfold 12 Yeshua did send forth and granted them every authority, saying, I will that ye be 12 apostles with your companions for a testimony unto Yasha'Allah. Therefore, go ye first unto the cities of Yasha'Allah and to the lost sheep of Yasha'Allah. And as so ye go, preach, saying unto those men with hearing ears, the kingdom of heaven is nigh and in your midst. And even as I baptize you in water, so also baptize ye them who have faith and believe. For ye are given power to anoint and heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, cast out devils, and even raise the dead if need be.
All right. So this is what Christ was giving the apostles when they set out. And when we start to go, we're trying to have, a certain structure to us, and people set up, strong brothers and sisters set up in a certain strong way that we could go out and, do things like what Christ was doing here with the same mannerism, with the same seriousness, with the same understanding. All right. So our praises be unto the Most High, Almighty Ahaya. This is the modern day the modern day Pharisees, and we see how the Sadducees, operated wild, not believing in hell, not believing in baptism, not believing in the resurrection, and the Pharisees operated with a certain love and togetherness, and dealing with each other in harmony. And the change over to where Christ tells us that they would now put on the sheep clothing, and we see how their beliefs change and how they find the name and how they start to operate as Essenes and change their doctrine. And they still are the same way. They still renowned. They still have that same type of love. They still have the same type of doctrine. And, we're to go be above and beyond them and to be higher than them. So what you see them doing and how you see them operating and the way you see them loving, we're trying to go surpass that. And we have to go surpass that. Thus say Christ and the Most High. All right. So with that being said, hope everybody got a full understanding on the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and we made the comparisons, showing you that the Sadducees of today would be, those who are coming out the One West camps. All right. The GMS, the ISUPK, the IUIC, they still have the same type of mannerisms to themselves, the wild, barbaric mannerism, and they still do not believe in the same things, the fallen, the angels, hell, baptism. While the Pharisees are dealing with that, and the modern day Pharisees, we showed you, would be operating under the spirit of GOCC, all right, who's found the name, like Christ said the Pharisees would find the name, who would be operating as the disciples who were Essenes did. And we see they're now wearing the white, separating themselves from the Sadducees camps. All right. And then they have the better, more exact, literal interpretations of the scriptures, which the Pharisees was known for and renowned for at those times. And they have the family environment. So all of those things now check off the list to make you know that they're operating under the spirit of the Pharisees and even fulfilling the latter day prophecies of the Pharisees. All right. So with that being said, I want to say our praises be unto the Most High, Almighty Ahaya. My name is Brother Shamar.
And Brother Arak.
And we hope you have the rest of your Shabbat a blessed day. And our praises be unto the Most High, Almighty Ahaya. Kwam Yasharala.
Kwam Yasharala. Shabbat Shalom. Yeah. Okay.